In this quick demonstration, we will show you how you can import Cape pallet files into Esko's Store Visualizer. We are using an existing 3D model of a truck, but all the pallets that you see here were generated using Esko Cape, imported and placed in the truck for visualization. Let's head on over to Cape Pack and generate a new pallet group. We're using standard dimensions, 16 by 12 by 10 inches. And let's increase the maximum height of this pallet. This looks exactly the pallet that I need. Now let's head on over to Export. Using the Export to Esko, Export Pallet Load XML, we generate an XML file which we will import later in Store Visualizer. Now that we have this XML, we'll go ahead and import it. Again, make sure to remember the length, width, and height of your primary package. This will be important if we want to visualize it a little more accurate later on and generate this model using our Esko Studio toolkits. First thing we need to do in Store Visualizer is activate the planogram option. Scroll down to planogram, hit the import button, and pick up the XML file that we just generated. Product appearance can be selected. Here, we'll just pick the base color. Using the color picker, we can pick a color which simulates my corrugate structure. Once the pallet is imported, we can place it using the Create New Object and clicking on the surface where you want to place it. This already looks great. Let's go ahead and use the View tool combined with the Pivot option to have a closer look at this pallet. In the Scene tab, you can use the Filter Entry and list only the selected objects. This will make it easier to identify individual corrugated boxes on this pallet. Now, if we want to create a more realistic view, we'll head on over to Illustrator, where we will use the Esko Studio Toolkit for boxes. Again, make sure that the width, height, and depth matches the one you used in Cape. Once we create our structural file, we will use the trim box and media box to fit our Illustrator canvas to this new Arduous CAD file. Let's go ahead and place some indicators on these panels, and using the Studio 3D view, we can see that unfortunately this was placed upside down. So a great tool for you to use to avoid this from happening, let's go ahead and place that again, is simply clicking on the panel in the Studio window in order to make sure that your graphics always end up the right side on your panels. Let's continue by copy and pasting this fragile do not drop indicator on all four sides of our corrugated shipper, and change the substrate to reflect craft paper. Using the export, we export this to a collada file, after which we can head on back over to Store Visualizer to import this collada file. Using the Tools tab, we use the Import, select the collada file, and import it. Placing our pallet again, we can now substitute the generic box for the one we just created. We can do this by isolating individual boxes using the select and deselect as shown earlier. Let's go ahead and replace this one corner box. Head on back over to the Tools menu, select your collada file, and use the Replace Model. And there you have it. Let's do this for all boxes on this pallet. And there you go. It's that easy. Hope you liked this demo, and visit me again at my YouTube channel. Thank you.